Good morning. Good morning. Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is the fourth Sunday of Advent we're celebrating. 4 weeks towards Christmas. And so this Sunday, we're going to begin by lighting the Advent candles. And we're going to focus on that fourth candle, which is the quality of joy. The quality of joy. What a wonderful thing to be celebrating. So 4 Sundays, we're entering into that final leg of this spiritual journey into Christmas. Just a reminder that this journey has been our way of preparing for that metaphysical birth of the Christ within. And that's what we're doing as we light each candle. And you'll notice that the candles are in a circle and the wreath is in a circle, because this is representing our wholeness, our oneness, and that there is nothing outside of that Christness. The circle also represents the eternity of creation, the eternal nature of who and what we are as whole, beautiful, perfect expressions of God. So as we light all 4 candles, hold in your mind each quality as we call them out, each quality and how they are coming alive within you, within your own Christ nature. And as we light each candle, think about the increase in light. Each candle adds more light, more clarity, and more love. When we bring all 4 candles together, and on Christmas Eve, we're going to light the Christ candle in the center, we have come into the fruition or fullness of that birth of Christ within us, which is remembering, awakening, and activating that divinity in our consciousness and in our lives. And that's a celebration of Christmas.
So as we light these Advent candles, our first candle represents hope and faith. As we light this candle, we awaken the gift of the Christ presence within. Our second candle is for peace. With this additional light, we establish peace inside ourselves. Each step of that journey brings us closer to a true, lasting peace within ourselves and the world. We welcome peace of the Christ into our hearts as we light that second candle. Candle number 3 is representing love. Love is God in us and through us. We welcome the divine quality of love into our hearts. And our fourth candle today is that of joy. We feel joy in our lives. We smile, laugh, dance, lend a hand, all with joy. We welcome the divine quality of joy into our lives as we light that fourth candle. And we would like to invite Lawrence up.
All right. We are going to start our service off by saying, welcome, welcome, welcome to Unity of Charlotte. And welcome to this amazingly special celebratory service where we're going to be doing 2 things. One is we're celebrating Christmas together as a community. We haven't had a lot of opportunity to come together because of our location. So we actually got a place here in the DoubleTree to offer the space and time to come together and celebrate. And I see Lawrence is coming up to open the service. We're just delighted to see everyone. If you're on Zoom, welcome. It's great to see you. And we're going to invite Lawrence up as our platform assistant. to move us into our service.
Well, you've had a chance to meet Reverend Lisa and Reverend Jim, all the way from the great North Country of Minnesota. So we're just delighted. And I just want to welcome you on behalf of Unity of Charlotte. I serve as the president of the Board of Trustees, and I see a number of our trustees here, and I will take an opportunity later in the service to ask them to stand and be acknowledged, as well as a few other loyal, trustworthy people who have stood by us as we've gone through the pandemic and a number of other changes. So we're glad that we have a Zoom broadcast this morning, and we want to welcome all of those on Zoom. And certainly when people you access our YouTube channel for this service and other services, we also welcome you. You're an important part of our audience from now on. The pandemic made that happen. Unity of Charlotte is a place where we nurture a deep and mature experience of God through the practice of unity principles. And simply put, this means we are here to love, grow, and serve. If you are here for the first time, we want to let you know that wherever you are on your spiritual journey, you are welcomed here. We invite you to reach out to any of our members, including me, to find out more or check us out on our website, unityofcharlotte.org. And you'll find a lot of good information and also some opportunities for you to take action, if you will. You may also, on that site or today in the rear, you can sign up to receive our weekly emails. We would be happy to keep you abreast of things that are going on at Unity of Charlotte. So let's do something together right now, and that is the Unity Prayer of Oneness. I believe you'll see it there on the screen. So if you will, say it with me in unison. There is one presence and one power in my life and universe, God, the good, omnipotent. We claim and we affirm this presence in our lives as love. If you or a loved one has need of prayer, you probably already know, if you take the daily word, that Unity is a praying organization. We believe in affirmative prayer. Affirmative prayer distinguishes us among Christian denominations. So we are here for you if that prayer is something needed. There are links and phone numbers on our website, or you could just contact Silent Unity, which has been operating for well over 100 years. It's a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week prayer ministry that is serving you whenever you reach out to it. So there is something, I think, quite wonderful about today. It is one of the Sundays of Advent, and you were treated to a beautiful ceremony at the very beginning by Reverends Jim and Lisa. I am going to read the daily word for today. Joyfully, I celebrate my oneness with God. As the three wise men followed the star to Bethlehem to greet the newborn child, I follow my inner light and discover the Christ within. As I approach the conclusion of Advent season, I realize that this, rather than material goods or creature comforts, is the source of my joy. The Christ within is that part of me that is always one with God. Omniscience, omnipresence, and omnipotence. When I face challenging times, I can draw from that inner wellspring of joy, my foundation of irrepressible strength and fortitude. I have within me the power to overcome any challenge. This day, this moment, I am joy-filled and I celebrate the overflowing blessings of my divinity. And the scripture comes from Matthew 2nd chapter, 10th verse. When they saw that the star had stopped, they were overwhelmed with joy. We have a number of upcoming events that we do want you to know about. They're going to be fun events as well as sacred events during this month and at the end of the month. We will have a Christmas Eve candle lighting service. This will be at 7 p.m. on Christmas Eve, the 24th. We will also have a burning bowl and letter to God service. That will be New Year's Eve at 7 p.m. And finally, I want to announce that we will have a white stone ceremony, which will take place on Sunday. Our regular church hours are 9:30 a.m. On Arrowwood Road. So that service, the second Sunday of January, is one that we invite all of you to give consideration to. Bring friends, invite others, and be mindful of this one thing. We will not have services on Christmas Day. We will not have services on New Year's Day. I also want to talk to you just very briefly about our Roof Above Giving project. Some of you may have noticed the nicely wrapped box on the back table here in this room. And if you have been made aware that we are receiving clothing goods for Roof Above, which used to be Urban Ministries. If you knew about it and you have brought some gloves or some socks or a few sweaters or other things, that box is there for you to donate for this cause. Our Vice President on the Board of Trustees, Mr. Michael Brown, is here in the audience, and he will assist you if you have questions about that. We also, for the members and others who have a heart for giving, we do have an end-of-year giving campaign taking place, and we would love your participation. There's been letters and emails that were sent out so that our members knew that this was ongoing. And for our ongoing offerings, you will find information and links on our website, unityofcharlotte.org. Now, let's do this one other thing here. We practice affirmative prayer, and we have an affirmation, one that has been at the heart of our regular services for a year. We are affirming a new space for our congregation. The reason we're here today and not on Arrowwood is because it cannot accommodate us at 11 o'clock. So we'll be looking forward to succeeding in our effort. Now that we have senior leadership in place, we're going to put all of our energies into identifying this new space. So join me in the affirmation together. We affirm that we have a new home for Unity of Charlotte that fulfills every need for space and use in order to support and share our unified purpose to love, grow, and serve, and so it is. Well, I am just about ready to relinquish this microphone. Yeah. Praise God that some things end. So I was just not present for the Advent part of our service because I was trying to get easier access for those who park in the parking deck. So I hope my journey was followed through on. Now, our two new co-ministers, our senior ministers, have spent a good part of their lives in Jacksonville, Florida, and in California, and now they can add Minnesota to that. And I believe they're looking forward to some Carolina sunshine. I believe that. So this is the third time that our 48-year-old congregation has called co-ministers to the pulpit. And so we do have some experience working with husband-wife teams. And we're at a place now where we're prepared for new beginnings. And it turns out that these two ministers received their Masters of Divinity in 2020 and 2021. They were ordained at the same time that they received their master's degrees. They received those from Unity Worldwide Ministries. And Reverend Jim served as senior minister for Unity of Central Minnesota in St. Cloud, Minnesota. And he was there for the last 2 years. Reverend Lisa, before coming here with Jim in November, was most recently a ministerial consultant at several Unity centers in Minneapolis and also Eau Claire, Wisconsin. The passions of Reverend Jim, involved in the Unity movement for 25 plus years, included as being a guest speaker throughout the Eastern US and Canada. He is facilitating public theology and teaching. He is also teaching insight meditation, and he has had a great experience with universal spiritual concepts through both Unity and other places, like some very outstanding authors like Eckhart Tolle, Michael Singer, and Thich Nhat Hanh. Reverend Lisa has been with the movement before becoming a minister. She was there for 15 years, serving the purpose of unity principles with the congregations she was associated with. She also spent quite a few years in corporate America after completing her bachelor's degree in psychology. She is a person who is most interested in interfaith connections, spiritual social action, and contemplative practices. She also currently teaches 2 contemplative practice courses in a spiritual direction certification program. When they arrived in, I think it was the second week of November, I discovered that Mecklenburg Ministries was having a program about Native Americans. And this was on the 15th of November. So even before they took the pulpit, the 2 of them were present at a Mecklenburg ministry program. And they also participated in the program the week of Thanksgiving. So they actually are doing and expressing their commitment to social action and interfaith activity already. They are circulating with other clergy, and I want you to know that the congregants within Unity of Charlotte are so pleased to see a genuine desire to make a difference in the world in which we live. So why don't you join me in giving them a warm, rousing welcome to Charlotte.
Thank you. Thank you, Lawrence, for that beautiful introduction. I almost wanted to ask, who's he introducing there for a second? Oh, I'm sorry, I don't have the camera with me now. We're using a new camera, so now it follows me around a little bit. And it's working, Alan tells me, so awesome. I'm not bound back here. So we woke up this morning. Let me tell you, we were living in St. Cloud, Minnesota, which, if you don't know, is even further north than Minneapolis. So when we woke up this morning, it was in the 30s, and I had to scrape snow, or not snow, I had to scrape frost off of the windshield of my car. I had to check my phone to make sure that I was in North Carolina. But yes, we are. Again, my name is Reverend Jim. Reverend Lisa will join us in just a few minutes as we present our message today. And it's really good to see each and every one of you here today. I almost didn't recognize some of you because you had your shoes on. But it is nice. It is nice. So Advent and this week of joy that we're in this week is one of my favorites, absolutely. And this week I was reflecting on this concept of joy within my own life, that idea of joy. I ran across an affirmation that I have used in the past as well, and I'm going to present that. And we can use this affirmation throughout our week as we go forward as well. I open my heart wide to the wonder and joy of life. Let me say that again, and then the next time you can join me. I open my heart wide to the wonder and joy of life. So together, I open my heart wide to the wonder and joy of life. Thank you. So as I was sitting with this concept of joy in my life, and I took a second, I took a beat. I didn't want to rush by this topic. I let it sink in for a moment, and I asked myself, was I experiencing joy in my own life? the way that I want to? Has my heart opened up to that idea of joy? And I wondered out loud, can I think of examples of that wonder and joy in my own life? And I invite you to remember a moment, maybe in the past few days, that you may have experienced wonder and joy as well. And I'm going to ask you to take a few seconds. We're going to pause here and just take a few seconds, not a whole lot of time, but right here and now, we're going to take a breath, move into that heart space, and remember, was there a time where I was able to feel wonder and joy in the past few days? Now, I've got a couple examples myself that I'm going to share with you, but if you were able to remember that feeling of wonder and joy, hang on to that for a moment. And I'm going to invite you, because after this service, we're going to have a reception afterwards. We've got some food and drink that we're going to share, some fellowship as well. I invite you to come up and share that moment of joy with me, with Reverend Lisa, with each other as well. So hang on to that moment of joy. My moment of joy that I found as I sat in silence for a little bit, I'm going to give you 3 examples because I was able to think of those fairly quickly. Reverend Lisa and I have discovered Bargain Day at Regal Theaters. If you don't know, I'm a film buff, so going to the movies is one of the things I really enjoy. Tuesdays, Bargain Day. My joy was discovering that popcorn is half price. So that was one. Another moment within our apartment, and hearing Reverend Lisa singing out loud. And of course, we were preparing for joy. So I'm hearing, I've got that joy, 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 joy down in my heart. And I was able to join with her in that song. And that was a wonder in my life. We also took a walk along 4 Mile Creek Greenway, which we live very close to. And we saw a very large, I believe it was a barred owl. Is that how you pronounce it? A barred owl sitting. Yes, I'm getting a yes. A barred owl sitting alongside the path, sunning itself on that cool day. And it just looked at me and blinked, and we went on our way. So those were 3 things that brought joy to my heart. And I'm so grateful for that. Joy and wonder as I go forth into this Christmas season. Reverend Lisa is now going to share her experience of finding a deeper sense of joy as she discovered unity.
Thank you, Reverend Jim. You got to turn the camera?
I've got to release it. Ta-da!
And now wait for it. All right, we're on. We just got this awesome camera, so this is really fun. We're still learning how to do that. And thank you, Reverend Jim, for sharing that story, because it gave me joy just remembering that sometimes we just walk around our apartment and get really silly. And it's usually when we need it the most, right? It's like you start stressing about all the stuff that you got to get together to make sure everything's going to work right. And you want everything to be smooth and wonderful. And you just want to give everyone a beautiful experience. But you can't do it stressed out, right? So often we break out into little songs we mostly learned as children, little ditties that just lift spirits and open hearts. So it gave me joy just hearing you share that story. What I'd like to do, we're going to go back and forth a little bit today for our talk. I hope you enjoy that. We're going to share a little bit about ourselves and our own spiritual journey with you. Because for me, joy played a big role in my spiritual journey. Because I remembered when I was a little child, I remember feeling most of the time connected to everything else. I felt a sense of connection to all the things around me. And this gave me a sense of what I would now call joy. But I couldn't really explain it. I couldn't describe it. It was just something I experienced as a child. Probably many of you did too. But what happens? We start growing up. We start to grow up and we begin to find ourselves in a world. And, I grew up in a very traditional Christian church. It was Presbyterian. My mom was a very disciplined churchgoer. And so every Sunday I was at church, and I was at the church Sunday school. I was at the service. I was at a fellowship afterwards. And so this was just a regular routine for me. And I just assumed this was part of life, right? You grow up but when you become an adult and you start asking questions, and I started to look for something deeper, and I'm not even sure I knew what it was I was looking for. But at some point, probably right before I went to college, I got frustrated and upset because I didn't feel like I was finding what I was looking for through this traditional path. And so I left. I left organized religion and I started on concentrating on my education and my career. Again, probably not untypical for a young adult in their 20s. And what I discovered, though, is that sense of joy that I felt as a girl just got further and further away from me. And every now and then I think, where's the joy? But then I would just dive back into whatever it was I was doing. It was about getting things done. Well, in my mid-20s, I had an experience that forced me to stop in my tracks, because there was a death in my family that was very unexpected and would have been considered very untimely and tragic. And at that time, that's how it felt. But for myself, I have a new perspective now. But back then, it was very devastating to me. And it forced me to stop hiding from this experience of feeling I was missing what life was supposed to be. So I started out on a quest, and I started looking in all directions. And there are a few lifelines that came to me during this dark period. And one of them was a magazine called Science of Mind. Now, I knew nothing about New Thought. And when someone handed me this book, I started doing the daily readings, and I thought, I've never heard it put this way before. I had never thought about God or my relationship to God in the way that was being presented to me through these daily readings. And something started cracking open in me. I was also led to do a study of A Course in Miracles, which I did for a long time. A Course in Miracles was a very powerful, transformative tool in my life. And between that and this New Thought introduction, I began to think and see of myself and God and divinity and life from a completely different perspective. I mean, one where I thought, oh, doesn't everybody know this? And they do, but in different ways, right? We all find our way to discovering the nature of God, the nature of our divinity, and the nature of ourselves and life. Now, for me, it shifted. It was this huge shift from believing that God was a king that sat up in a throne in some distant place called heaven. There was always a distance for me, and that's what I couldn't get past that gulf I felt. And so when I began to understand, and then I found unity with the Fillmore's writings and Eric Butterworth and Emily Cady, Lessons in Truth, that continued to show me God as principle, God as this whole creative life force from which everything comes. God as wholeness and as oneness, which, by the way, I cannot not be a part of, because that's what wholeness and oneness is. So it was through this revelatory expression and description of understanding divinity and my place in it that began to bring that experience of joy back into my life. Because for a long time, I lost it. And that wasn't the fault of the church that I went to. It was just, for me, I needed a different path. I just needed a different path. And I found it through New Thought, and specifically through Unity, because Unity provides these 5 basic principles that I can live by. I can take them in personally, I can practice them, and I can see the manifestation of love and light and goodness that comes forth when I do that. So it's like, I don't know if any of you know, but Buddha used to teach his disciples and say, don't take my word for it. Do it. Do it for yourself, and you see what comes from that experience. And that's what Unity provides for me, a very practical experience. And that's much of how I brought joy back into my life. And that doesn't mean there's not challenges and difficulties, but this is a joy that's always present. I just tune back in to knowing I am one with God, and joy is a part of that experience. So I'd like to invite Reverend Jim up now to share a little bit of his story.
It is a little strange. Let's see if I can repeat that. Are you there? We go. Now it'll follow me. So my story. Thank you, Reverend Lisa. So my story. Again, it's not unique. In fact, some of it parallels what Reverend Lisa talked about. I walked away from the religion of my youth at about age 18. I grew up in Los Angeles, California. I went to college. I started a career. I got married, started a family, and got a promotion. So this is my worldly journey after leaving that church. Moved from California to Jacksonville, Florida, again, as a manager of a large IT department. I lived in a gorgeous home. I drove a nice car. I vacationed well. You know, all the things. I played golf with the CEO. I mean, it was almost like a corporate fairy tale almost. And by all worldly standards, I was a success. But again, there was something missing, right? I felt that deep in my heart. There was no sense of wonder. There was no joy at that point in my life. And in fact, I think back on it, my heart had actually shut down. I was no longer open. I realized that I had lost touch with my spirituality. Not my religion, but my spirituality. I had lost touch with that. At the recommendation of a friend, I started studying A Course in Miracles as well. This is way before I met Reverend Lisa, but I started studying that, and it made so much sense to me. We got together each week at a psychiatrist's office, and there was about a dozen of us, and we discussed, and it made so much sense to me. But I still felt a little bit of a disconnect. I needed fellowship. I needed a place to serve. That's what I was missing as well. Because when I serve, I do feel that joy in my heart. Like I said, that course group, that A Course in Miracles, met once a week. And I asked that question out loud during one of our sessions. I said, you know, I love the things that we talk about here. I love how we study here. But I just wish that there was someplace I could go on a Sunday morning, take my daughter with me, that talked about the same kind of things. That's what I'm looking for. And one of my friends in that group, she said, well, have you tried the Unity Church? There's a Unity Church downtown, and I think you would fit right in. Now, you're going to notice I wasn't listening because what I said was, well, no, back in California, I tried Unitarian, and that's just not where, that just didn't work for me, right? And she literally stepped up, placed her hands on my shoulder and said, unity. Oh, no, I haven't ever experienced them, but let me try it this Sunday. So I went Sunday. I had a chance to experience the message that I am part of that divine. I got to experience prayer and meditation during a Sunday service was like, whoa, I'm in the right spot. The fellowship afterwards, and right there, that first Sunday, I knew I was in that right place. The minister told me afterwards, as he greeted me, and we talked just a few seconds, he reminded me that no matter where I was on my spiritual journey, I was welcome here. In other words, I didn't have to fit into a tight little box. I was on a journey, and I'd found fellowship there as well. I was in the right place. And for years, I studied, I served, I made friends. Some of my best friends I made at that church. My heart opened up once again. I felt joy and that sense of wonder. And I met and I married Reverend Lisa at that church as well. I have to release.
I release and I let go. I am present and I am here. All right. Thank you, Reverend Jim. Those are such great memories for me too. Because I headed to Jacksonville and was looking for a place of fellowship where I could share these beliefs and practices that I had become so important to me in my life. And I met Reverend Jim there, and well, the rest is history. Here we are in Charlotte. I don't think either one of us ever pictured becoming ministers at that time. Our spirituality was of the highest value, and that's what drew us together. But it was something that kind of snuck up on us. And you know it's meant to be when it has nothing of your doing in it. And it didn't. And yet we are so overjoyed to be standing here now with you as our new community. And we're so looking forward to getting to know each and every one of you and sharing the joy that being a part of the unity movement and the New Thought movement brings to us. And I know for many, many of you, because I can see it on your faces, that we get to share that and let it grow and let it shine, not only in our own lives, but out into our community. As Lawrence mentioned, interfaith connections to me are so important because they have in the past been a way we've divided ourselves, and it just makes no sense. We're all spiritual beings on paths. So how much more powerful for healing our world than to bring all of our faiths together and not to think and act and speak all the same. But when we turn within in that silence and stand in that spiritual presence, we are one. And that is how I see spiritual social action happening in the world, coming from a place of knowing our wholeness, our oneness, and the unique divine worth and value of every single life on this planet. So as we close, I just want to remind us that the joy we're talking about is both breaking out in a little song and singing together in our apartment, but it's also that deep, profound, divine attribute that lives within us that we are calling forth today in this fourth Sunday of Advent as we move forward to celebrate the birth of Christ awakening within our own hearts, our own minds, and our own consciousness. And we do it together. We do it together. We do it within ourselves first, but then it immediately reaches out and extends to be inclusive of everyone else. And that's when joy becomes whole. Just like the circle of the 4 candles, they become whole when they're all lit, shining together. And that's what each one of us are. So I'm reminded of Matthew 5:15, where he says to us, "No one, after lighting a lamp, puts it under a bushel basket, but on a lampstand, and it gives light to all in the house." So that's what I invite you to today, as you turn within and feel that joy. Reverend Jim's going to lead you on a meditation in just a moment. And then stay for fellowship and watch that joy continue to grow and multiply as we share it with each other. And then take it home with you and take it out to your community. Wherever you are, be that light of joy. And just to share one last little thing, this is out of the Advent book. If you don't have one, you can still probably pick one up. I think we have some in the back. But it says, when you come to realize that Christ is born in you each day, it is then your joy to take every opportunity to become a beacon of light in your community. Thank you so much. We love being here. We feel so welcomed, and we welcome you as our new spiritual family too. I hope to see you afterwards. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's move into meditation. I invite you to find a comfortable space, wiggle around a little bit. Allow your feet to be on the ground, grounded in this nature, Mother Earth. Find a space for your hands if it's in your lap. Palms can be up or down. It feels right, closing your eyes. And just breathing. Knowing that with each exhale, we drop a little bit deeper into that space. As I use these sentences, these I statements, I invite you to take them as your own as well. I focus on that spiritual quality of joy in my life. I feel the wonder of life. My natural state is one of joy and expectation. I expect that joy to show up in my life. I know deep down that joy and wonder is there for me. My reality is spiritual. My reality is based in this quality of love and joy. This is my reality. And during times of need, this simple act of turning within, being quiet for a moment or two, is what makes all the difference in my world. I take another breath, and I release that and drop a little bit deeper. And I allow this space to open up in my heart. Again, giving room to that next piece of joy that will be showing up as we take a moment or two to move into the silence. As we begin to come out of that silence, we hang on to that idea of joy. We begin to open our eyes. We begin to notice the room around us once again. Maybe take in that deep breath. And we feel and we know joy. And it is so. Namaste. So at this point, we will be moving into another song, and Lawrence will be introducing that for us. Release.
Thank you, sir. Weren't they wonderful? Let them know you appreciate them sharing from their personal spiritual journeys. Being a minister means you've got to be transparent and open, and you've got to share the experiences that you have throughout your life. And we do thank you so much for accepting our call and becoming our senior ministers. I want us to move right now into the offering part of, oh, no, I think the music comes first, because the offering is first. Okay, just not on my sheet of paper. That's cool. That's cool. We are going to, together, we're going to make a statement, one that those who are members, we make it every Sunday, and we do it in unison. It's another one of those affirmative prayers. So join me in saying, joyously I give this gift, knowing the divine presence blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God. And our ushers are passing out the offering plates, and we're going to go ahead and start that music. It's a song you all know, so as soon as the offering plate has passed you, do stand and join in singing "Joy to the World." And why not? Yes.
Bars of intro. So
Okay.
wait for the intro.
2 bars of intro.
Because otherwise,
Do your thing. Thank you. Joy to the world, the Lord is come. Let earth receive her King. Let every heart be glad in room, and heaven and nature sing, and heaven you to the earth, the Savior reigns. Let their songs implore, while fields and floods, rocks, hills, and plains repeat the sounding joy. Repeat the sounding joy. Repeat the sounding joy. He rules the world with truth and grace, and makes the nations prove the glories of his righteousness, and wonders of his love, and wonders of his love, and wonders of his love. Thank you. Now, I'm going to do something that people here who I call on are not expecting. So, Mr. Michael Brown, come a bit forward. So, and I want to ask Pat Dre to stand, and I want Barbara Rolfe to stand. Now, you're going to have to get in the clearing because they can't see that you stand. Come on, get in the clearing so they can see you. Maria Malavi, okay. Oh, you all right back there. Two board members, y'all step out and say hello. Come on, step out, say hello. These are the members of the Board of Trustees. They share that responsibility with me. Thank you so much for making this possible. It's wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, good. I also want to acknowledge the help that we're getting this morning from Reverend Jim Fuller. Some of you have served with him. You've served with him and his wife, Kay, and we just love the spirit of giving that he has demonstrated to us. It's been wonderful. Thank you, sir. And now I'm going to ask someone to stand up. He is not only an excellent producer, but he is an iron-willed producer. And this is Alan Batten. Alan Batten. Now, I want you to know why I say he is iron-willed. He has produced our services every Sunday, not missing one, since 2013. Let him know how much you appreciate. Now, if you want a definition of service, that is a definition of service. Absolutely. And I want to acknowledge one of the ministers who helped us to get through the last 3+ years, Reverend Dr. Adrian Calabrese. Can you please stand? Please stand. Yeah. She was most helpful to us. In addition, there were other people within the congregation like Margaret Wells and like Nancy Dartnell, who stood and assisted us. And I don't want to overlook the choir. The choir was there every Sunday with Alan Batten. Choir, please stand and turn and face. Yeah. Now, the way I have characterized these people is that they have activated their faith. And we're just so happy that they have activated their faith day in, day out, been committed to serving this congregation. And I can personally say, serving this congregation has helped me to grow. I do see that I overlooked a gentleman that I've worked with very closely. Michael, can you please stand? So he is on our board of trustees. Michael Barden. Yes. Please excuse my age. But we've grown together, and we're so happy to be starting anew with 2 new co-ministers, and we have sustained this 48-year-old congregation, and we're looking for another 48 years. Thank you so much. Now, we are ready to close. Oh, Reverend Pat Dre decided to take.
What you all know and what we need to acknowledge right now, otherwise it would not be complete, is our board chair, Lawrence Tolliver, who has done 20 times more than anybody can imagine over the last year and led us through all of this time.
Thank you. Thank you
I
so much.
so love and appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you. Reverend Pat, thank you so much. I introduced the whole team because it really did take a team effort for us to be where we are today. Now, joy, that word, I want a few people to stand. I want you to know the source of my joy yesterday and all day today. I have 2 granddaughters. Please, 2 granddaughters, stand up, granddaughters, and come on a bit. Oh, there we go. And 1 daughter and 1 great granddaughter and 1 wife, who are all here, and they are a source of joy for me. Thank you. All right, now we'll all stand and we will say the prayer for protection together. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well.